Oh, Snizzity Snap, baby. We're back with Motivate with EY. That would be myself. And yeah, I'm ready to talk about some more stuff. Keep in mind, everybody, I know I say this all the time, I'm not a professional. These are just food for thought items, things that I think about, conversations I have with other people, and just kind of sharing them with you guys and putting some things out there as far as conversations and maybe different ways of looking at things. So we'll dive right into it here. I've titled this one always stay fascinated. I don't know why that's kind of a tongue twister for me, but maybe I'm a little bit dumb, and we'll get through this. So really, with the fascination, I don't mean necessarily like things that kind of fascinate everybody. Really, what is kind of my own personal thing that I've been dealing with here lately, and really it's something that used to bother me, and it'll still get under my skin from time to time, but it used to really bother me, really used to really upset me, and I let it affect me way too negatively. And really what that is, it's just negative people. And now I've actually turned it around to where I'm more fascinated by people who are just, I don't mean people, we all have good days, bad days, that kind of thing. I don't mean that. I mean people who are constantly, habitually negative all the time. And it used to really, bother me. I'd be around these people. I'm like, I have to get away. It would affect my mood. It would kind of even just rub off on me, and I would get real negative about everything. And I had to stop doing that. And really, what I did was, not only did I stop doing it myself, and hey, I know if you know me, you hang around me at with any period of time, well, Eric, you say negative things. I get it. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect, obviously. I say that many times, but I work really hard, not try. I work really hard at not being negative myself. But even people who are negative now, I can only take them maybe in small doses. But I really kind of try to extract as much as I can from them, and not that I'm using them by any means, but I should say, so because I'm fascinated, why always the negative this, negative that, the world sucks, everything's going to hell, these people are dumb, this thing's dumb, this thing doesn't, whatever it is. It's the sky is falling kind of people. And sometimes instead of either taking on that negativity yourself, or just, putting the cross up like a vampire and saying, get away and running the other direction, we can learn a lot from people like this. And what I think is helpful, what's been helpful for me, is to try to understand, what's going on with them. Why do they feel like the sky is always falling? Is it real? Meaning, is their life, are they just that unlucky in life and everything is terrible for them? Or do they have the wrong perspective? And if it's something like they have the wrong perspective, or they aren't willing to accept any positive in their life, or they're just looking at life from a limited scope and they're not looking at it maybe from a bigger, broader picture, well, we can learn from that. And I've learned from that myself, where I realized other areas where I do that, or I was doing that, and saying, wow, I can now, from the outside looking in, I see what they're doing wrong, but I didn't see that I was doing the same thing somewhere else. And it helps me kind of correct that behavior. It helps me correct my point of view and my way of thinking. And I think we can all kind of take something from that and utilize maybe from an outside perspective point of view, and see what someone else is doing, and see kind of how annoying it is, and how just the mentality isn't there. I always call it a broken mentality. They're not really, I should say because we all do it. But when we're in that state ourselves, even if we're not a constantly negative person, when we are being negative, we're looking at it from this little small scope. It's almost like it's like this perfect scope, right? And I want everything to be perfect, everything to fit right in this little scope here. And if it's not perfect, well, then it's all bad. It's this, it's that, it's terrible, it sucks, it's unfair. but we're not really being objective saying, but no, it's challenging, or hey, this is a bad situation, or hey, sometimes things don't always go our way and we got to work around it. But we're casting out, super negative thoughts and just vibes overall. And I've been think back to time when I was little. I mean, little. I mean, my brain can probably only remember maybe 5 or 6 years old, and even then, it's shitty memories. I don't have like super crisp memories of everything when I was that young, but as far back as I can remember, I've done this. I know I've done this, and it's I think it's a human nature thing to do. There are exceptions. Some people are always bubbly and always happy. That's great. Sometimes it's annoying, but it's cool. But for me, I know I'm so guilty of this, and then almost wanting to, like they say, misery needs company. It's like I wanted people to share in my misery at that moment, and so I'm just, kind of putting out that negative vibe to people, and the sky is falling, in my own thoughts, and it's never gotten me anywhere. It's never made me better. It's never gotten me past a certain situation. If anything, it holds me back. It holds me back in whatever it is that I'm doing. It holds me back my overall growth, mentally, emotionally, everything. It's not a good way to look at it. So when I see other people doing it now, I recognize myself in it, and I go, yep, I know. I used to do that all the time, and I still do sometimes, but I recognize it more often. And sometimes we can help these people. Sometimes we can offer good advice and maybe help turn it around. But even if you can't, it's almost like taking the lessons from them and saying, I know I do something like this, and now I see it in somebody else. And now I see it in myself. So I have to correct this behavior now. I can't do that anymore, or I have to be very conscious when I am doing that and correct it when I see myself doing it with something else. Here's a good example. It's kind of a slightly off-topic example, but overall, it's really what I'm talking about here. So I used to get really mad, like a lot of people, at the Kardashians. Why? I think when I really analyzed it and looked at it, myself, and being objective, I would have to say I felt like they got a free ride. They got this free ride because they already started off, with money. Their dad had a lot of money. He was this big famous lawyer in LA. And, they go on and the whole sex tape thing. And it was like, and then boom, they all kind of blow up with their show. And, in my mind, I think it seemed unfair. I work really hard. I've always worked really hard. I get up every day and go to work, and how come, I don't have this financial windfall? And I think that's kind of what it came down to. I think I was probably just envious of their financial situation. And instead of looking at that and using it as a motivating tool, or even just not letting it affect me at all, and just saying, hey, they're doing them and moving on, and it doesn't affect me, I allowed it to eat at me. And, it doesn't mean I can't have an opinion about whether or not I enjoy their show. I mean, I think I've only watched a few minutes here and there of a few episodes, and it's not for me. It's not my cup of tea. It's not entertaining for me necessarily, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't exist, and it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be successful. They've been wildly successful at many things, from fashion to makeup to, you name it. And I used to even say, well, they don't have any talents. How is it that they're so famous and they have all this stuff and this crazy life, and they don't have any talent? And when I really looked at it, they do have a talent. Their talent is getting people to pay attention. It's not an easy thing to do, trust me. Even with this podcast, it's I know it's not the best. I know it's not. I don't have all these, astrophysicists and famous people on my podcast. But I'm working at it. I want to get better, and it is hard. It's hard to get people to want to pay attention to what you're doing and what you have to say, even if it is maybe a good positive message, which I believe this is. And that's why I keep working at it, and I believe it will grow. So my point is, I felt like it was unfair. And I've looked at other people in my life as well and thought, well, that's unfair. They how come, they got the easy road? And I was looking at it the wrong way, and I let it affect me in a way that only hurt me, and it didn't help me, and it stunted my growth, and it kept me from moving forward towards my goals. And now I look at it the opposite. If I see something, I don't see the negative aspect of it, or what I used to consider a negative aspect. I look at it and say, wow, I mean, okay, this is what's going on. I may not get it. I may not understand it. It may not be my cup of tea, but I respect the hustle. I respect them, working at it. I respect them putting it out there. And whatever it is, if there's a need for it, there's a demand for it, and they're filling that demand, good for them. How do I learn from that? How do I take from that and extract the good things, whether it's, hard work, whether it's time management, whether it's, doesn't matter, whatever it is, really analyzing and looking at it and taking from it the positives that I can't. I don't have to get it. It doesn't have to be for me necessarily. It just has to be something that I can learn from and use it in my life and in a positive way. So that's kind of really the message here is being fascinated with things that either are negative, people that are negative, or even perceived to be negative, and turning it into a positive, taking from it the positive things, learning from other people's mistakes, or learning from other people's successes, and saying, wow, they did it this way for them. I can do it similar, but a little bit different for me, and I can go on and do the things that I want to do with it. And I can grow my business, or I can grow my whatever it is that you're working on. I can lose the weight. I can learn the piano. Insert whatever it is that you're working on. And and if to that point, if you're trying to learn how to play a musical instrument, and you practice and practice and practice and hours a day and practice, and after a year you only get so far, and someone seems like they pick it up just like that. Why? Because they have a musical talent and it comes easy to them, and that's just what it is. Don't get frustrated. Don't get mad. Don't look at them in a negative light and going, oh, well, they suck, and it's not fair, and they're going to squander away this gift, and I'm working really hard at it and I really appreciate it. It's the wrong way to look at it. So wrong. That's poison. It's poison for you. And you think, I shouldn't say you, we all think when we do that we're almost like we're putting some kind of weird hex on that person. I'm going to spew this venom, and they don't deserve it, and they're not going to know what to do with it, and they don't appreciate it, and I would appreciate it if I had that gift. Maybe not. I tell my family and friends, all the time, my last name's Gibson, and if I was the heir to the Gibson guitar or the Gibson appliances, fortune, it wouldn't be a good thing. I know myself. If I had that easy road and that, that family money just sitting there waiting for me in a trust fund or something until when I turned 25 or 30 or 40 even for that matter, I probably would have went off the rails. Give me $10 million when I turned 40. Who knows what I would have done. So it's that life wasn't for me, and that's okay. But I think a lot of us are kind of guilty of that. Looking at that negative, looking at something in a negative light, and even negative people. When I think it's especially difficult when it's maybe like a family member that's maybe always around, or a friend that you have within a group of friends that's just constantly negative, and the sky's falling, and this is terrible, and life sucks, and da 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 da, and you're just like, oh, and as soon as they walk in the room, you kind of feel this cloud come over, and you feel like, oh, here we go again. I got to listen to all this stuff, and all the doctor visits, and all the whatever, and it's like the Eeyore syndrome. The head hangs, and there's a cloud hanging over them, and it's constantly raining. But we can look at those people and say, I don't want to be like that. I'm not going to be like that. But sometimes we even look, if you're really looking, you can look and see and say, for the most part, I'm a pretty positive person, But I do that exact same thing when it comes to this, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to raising my kids, when it comes to my job, everything else I'm good. But when it comes to this one thing, I have that same cloud over my head. And it seems like nothing's ever going right for me. And I start talking about, around my friends and family that life sucks and things are terrible and how come things can't ever go my way. I should probably work on that. I should probably work on not saying those things out loud to other people and bringing their moods down and casting negative thoughts onto them. I'm not talking about, if it's your parents or your significant other or a best friend that you have that you can lean on when you're having going through some rough patches in life, and you can go to them and talk to them. I'm not talking about sometimes it's venting, I guess, but really just talk to them and kind of get it all out and work through it. Those things, we all have those people. Hopefully, those people are key, essential in our life for growth and just kind of working through all the different challenges. But those things, that aside, I'm talking about just really just casting negative thoughts and saying negative things and spewing it out to the people around you. Maybe we can recognize that better because we do see it in other people, and we see how ugly it can be, and we can see how it's received because we're receiving it on the other end. And now we can know, this is what I'm doing to other people. And I got to work on that because that's not what I want to be doing. I want to be positive. I want to keep growing. I want to move forward with my life. And I don't want to be stuck here in this molasses pit of despair and how life is so terrible. It's terrible if you believe it, and if you believe that that's just all you deserve. But we can get out of that. But we have to recognize it first. And sometimes it takes recognize it in other people. And that's what's helped me. It's helped me quite a bit. And hey, I'm telling you, I'm not 100% at it. I still do it, and I'm still guilty of it, but I'm still working on it. And I'm going to continue to work on it and keep getting a little bit better every day at it because I don't want to be that person. I love being happy. I love laughing and being goofy and joking and just enjoying all the aspects of life. It's my job, my family, my hobbies, everything. That's what life's all about. We got to enjoy this ride the whole time. I got my notes here. So I've talked about it before. We all have 24 hours in a day. What we do with those 24 hours is key in whether or not we're going to enjoy life, like I was just talking about, or we're going to reach the goals that we want to get to. Because, hey, if we are giving our valuable, precious time, right? We all have to sleep. We all have to work. We all have to, we have getting ready for the daytime, and for some people it's 10 minutes, some people it's an hour. We have to and from work. So we have all these things that we have to do. And if you crunch all that down, how many hours throughout the day, and it only leaves a certain amount of time left for your hobbies, for emergencies, that when they come up, and I don't mean terrible emergencies, but just anything that comes up. Oh, the school calls, and you got to have a parent-teacher conference because your kid was fighting at school, whatever, right? All these little things come up that take part of your day. And, if part of your day you enjoy watching TV, if you want to learn a new instrument, if you want to do this, want to do that, you got to work out, you got to make dinner for your family, you got to clean up from dinner. So there's all these other things. If there's only this much time left of your day, why do you want to give it to somebody who's give all that time to somebody who's being negative, somebody who's bringing you down, right? So you already have a hard, challenging day. Maybe you didn't get as much sleep, and you didn't get to work out. You didn't get to go to whatever class you were taking, for fun. Your kids are going crazy, and your significant other is just all over you about something, and it's just boom, boom, boom. And then you're inviting one more person, outside person, to cast negative thoughts onto you and negative, just anything into your life. It starts to wear on you. And it's taking time that you could be using that time to do things that you want to do. Same 24 hours in a day. Successful people, they're going to use that time for the things that they want to do, for things that are going to be productive for them. They're going to get them to move forward. And if we're using it to allow people to affect us negatively, I feel like it's a double whammy. and I won't do it. Doesn't mean I won't learn from it. Doesn't mean I won't analyze it for a little bit and say, okay, what's going on here? Oop, I can learn from this. Oh, don't want to be like that. Oh, okay. Yep, I see. Oh, you know what? I do that too. Okay, got to work on that. Boom. And then that's it. Then you move on. Don't sit. Don't invite it all over. Now, if it's one of your best friends and you want to be there for them, I get it, right? We're human beings. We're balancing all these things all the time. I'm talking about the people that we allow to just take over and occupy this space that we don't really have time for, but we let them take it on. And then not only we let them take over the space, we let them take it over with just negative energy and bringing us down. And even when we try to offer, we know these people, you try to offer, well, have you looked at it this way? Well, at least it's better than this. And you know what? Hey, I can help you with this. And no, that's not going to work. No, that's no good. No, and they shoot down everything that you're trying to help them with. That's just negative. It's just, you got to rid yourself of that 100%, because it will start to affect you. You can be the most happy-go-lucky person in the world, and if you keep taking this negativity on all the time from all these people, or even just the same person, it will wear on you. I know people. I have people in my life that are super positive, super happy all the time, upbeat, this and that. But every so often, they hit a big lull because they're allowing somebody in their life to just give them these ear beatings all the time of just, this is terrible, and they can't take it anymore. And then I get the brunt end of it on the other end, and I'm like, look, both of us, we got to get away. We got to get away from people like this. We can't take this on. We don't have the time. We don't have the energy. And even if I had it, I don't want it. I don't want to be this constant, I'm a human being. I'm not, a wall that you can just keep smacking the ball up against it a million times and it's still going to stand. I'm going to crumble myself. I can only take so much. Am I there for my friends? Absolutely. Am I there for my family? Absolutely. I have no problem being a sounding board sometimes, being someone you can vent to from time to time. I have no problem with that. But what I will not be a punching bag. I will not be a grappling dummy that's just going to allow, jiu-jitsu a little bit, I am. But I won't be someone who's just going to sit there and just keep taking it and let someone just keep beating me up with no positive on the other end. It's not like, hey, let me vent to you and I feel so much better. Thank you so much. Now I can go on and be wonderful to the people in my life. Thank you for being that for me. I'm not talking about that. I'll be that from time to time, not every day, but I'll be that from time to time for the people that I care about and love. Absolutely. But I'm not just going to be that every single day, all the time for somebody. And then try to offer help and they won't take it because they still want to be negative. That I won't do. And that's what I'm talking about. Getting away, but also understanding what's going on, maybe see some of these things in ourselves and how we can fix it and move forward. So it's just too high of a cost for me, for my family, for other people in my life. If I'm allowing this negative person to take up this time, it's taking it away from somebody else that I care about, somebody else that I love, and I'm not willing to do that because I only have so much time. So that's it. That's the message. Stay fascinated stay fascinated with people, stay fascinated with the things that are going on around us. And some things are negative and some things seem to be almost this no end. But we can learn. If we're paying attention, we can learn from it. I pay attention to a lot of things that I didn't pay attention to in the past with some of the conversations that go on media and social media these days. And it's fascinating to me because I feel like some of the messages are getting lost. This conversation is being had, it turns into this conversation, and there's no meeting in the middle because they're two different conversations, but people are pretending they're the same conversation. And it turns into this negative, hot potato or grenade throwing back and forth. And it seems like it's affecting a lot of people's lives, and we're letting it affect our lives, but we're not really looking at what's really going on. And so I'm hoping as a society, as a culture, we start waking up to more of these things, and we are being more objective with ourselves, not just hoping the other side comes around to what we think, but maybe looking at our own ways of thinking, our own thought processes, and saying, maybe I might have it a little bit incorrect as well. Maybe I need to, change my compass around a little bit and open my mind a little bit more because I don't have all the answers. But being fascinated with all the different things going on in our life is very important. Pay attention, understand kind of what you're really seeing, and be introspective with it and see if it's something that we can use it to fix within our own lives, because that's how we get better, people. I'm working on it every day. Some days I get this much better, some days I have bigger chunks, but I always want to get better, and that's the goal for me, because I think it's important, and I get a lot of joy out of it myself when I see myself growing and handling things better than I used to, and opening my mind up to other ways of thinking and understanding why that's important. The older I get, I've heard this all the time. Growing up, I used to hate it, but now it makes more sense. But as I get older, being more open-minded, trying to really understand things a little bit better is it's very therapeutic for me. So I enjoy it. Once again, thanks everybody for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope this kind of hit home with some people. I hope it's helpful. And I know sometimes I get lost in the weeds a little bit with some of my stories, and that's how my brain works. I'm a little bit kooky that way, but I hope the message does hit home. We can take positives from negatives, and we can turn them into something good for ourselves, and then in turn either try to help other people with it, or sometimes we just need to get away and go about our lives. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching this week of Motivate with EY. Next week I will be back with a guest. I have returning for part 2 of our podcast from before, Antonio Lopez from the Academy of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, great friend of mine. And we're going to talk more about jiu-jitsu, about life, about growing up, about all these wonderful things. We still have so much to say, so it's going to be a good one. Tune in for that. See you guys next week. Have a great night. I love you all. Thank you so much.